We're taking you live to Copenhagen now, to the International Donor Conference there, looking at the war in Ukraine. We're expecting to hear from the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace shortly, but in the meantime, this is the Danish Defence Secretary, Morten Vodskov.
Training of Ukrainian soldiers. A number of countries, including Denmark, have today committed to supporting the British-led Operation Interflex that trains Ukrainian recruits in the UK. Finally, we have discussed support for Ukraine in the area of demining. Iceland has taken the leading role in coordinating a concept for demining training mission for Ukraine. And let me thank all the countries, all the participating nations that have been here in Copenhagen today for this conference, and especially for, of course, their strong support. Your participation here today have shown that we strongly support Ukraine, not only now, but also in the future, because their fight is our fight. With these words, I will now pass the word to Alexei Resnikov and afterwards Ben Wallace. Alexei, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Morten. My emotions or my conclusion. I am satisfied with the conference and with the results. A lot of information is classified, so I cannot discuss it openly, but we reached clear initiatives and commitments on demining. We agreed upon long-term and mid-term activity. These terms are also related to armaments production, and I am glad that we all have common sense that there is no time for fatigue. That is marathon. For marathon, you need energy, and frankly speaking, the main energy in this case is money. Our partners know that we need funding, and they articulated readiness to support us financially. To finalize, I would say that light will drive out darkness. And again, I would like to say thank you for leadership, to Morten and to Ben, and for all colleagues who were here and were in this chamber. It's very symbolic. We're also in a special chamber. So I'm looking forward with the optimist, and we will prevail the enemy, and you will see the liberated, very, very, very good country, which is called Ukraine. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much. Ben?
Thank you, Morten. Thank you, Alexei. Thank you for hosting us here in Denmark, and it's another great success of the international community coming together to demonstrate, at the very least, that our appetite is not diminished, our appetite is increasing towards helping Ukraine. President Putin would have gambled that come August, come a few months in, we would have all got bored of the conflict and the international community would have gone off in different directions. Well, today is proof of the opposite. We have come out of this meeting with more pledges of finance, more pledges of training, and more pledges of military aid, all designed to help Ukraine win, to help Ukraine stand up for its sovereignty, and indeed to ensure that President Putin's ambitions fail in Ukraine, as they rightly should. I think it's incredibly important that people understand that the fighting is still going on, and it is still seeing the loss of life of both innocent civilians and indeed military personnel of the Ukrainian armed forces, all of whom are fighting bravely on a day-to-day basis. But it is also the case that Russia are starting to fail in many areas. They have failed so far and are unlikely to ever succeed in occupying Ukraine. Their invasion has faltered and constantly been remodified to the extent they are really only focusing in parts of the south and in the east, a long, long way away from their three-day so-called special operation. 3 days are now over 150 days and nearly 6 months in, with huge significant losses of both equipment and indeed Russian personnel. Not a surprise, President Putin was warned by friends and adversaries alike, from presidents and prime ministers, not to do this unwise and illegal thing. He's ignored it, and we're here today to show that 6 months on, we're still as determined as an international community to stand up to him and to stand up to the threat and to help Ukraine re-establish its sovereign territory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. Now for some questions. Yes, Danish TV2.
Yes, actually, for all of you, this conference with the 1.5 billion euro you were talking about, what exactly difference, Mr. Oleksiy, Mr. Resnikov, can it do for Ukraine? And you also asked for actually fire aircrafts earlier today. You haven't got that, so how is your satisfaction all in all? And for the two other gentlemen, you know, what exactly difference can this fund do for Ukraine?
We made presentation for our colleagues with our requests. They know the list of our requests, so it will be circulated among our partners, and they will decide who is ready to deliver it to Ukraine using this money. Sorry, without details. In operational meaning.
Yeah. But only today, 1.5 billion euros. A number of countries have also signaled a willingness to support. They'll have to go back home to discuss with their parliaments, of course, and we will have a follow-up meeting in September, a follow-up meeting via VTC, and by then I'm sure we'll see more contributions, and I'm sure that we'll see a much more concrete way when it comes to productions of different types of weapons, and I must say the British fund has really moved this process forward here. It's a huge initiative, likewise the training initiative that UK is now also funding. So, Ben, I think you can say a little bit about the difference that the fund actually can do when it comes to direct buying of weapons and productions of weapons.
So first of all, the fund started way back when Australia and Canada actually rang up and said, we'd like to help, but we're a long way away. If we give you some money, can you purchase some stuff? That's how it started. When I met with Morten early on, when he started in his job, he said, look, why don't we expand it and have a conference here? So it is an international fund now. We have contributions from Norway, we have contributions from Denmark, we have contributions from across the piece that are approaching today, alone in that fund, nearly €500 million. We've put in £250 million or 300 million euros into that pot. And the difference between this pot, this international fund, and the European fund is a sort of old for new reimbursement fund, so that if a country gifts its tanks, it can seek through the EU to be reimbursed, so it can buy tanks to replace it, etc. This is really about recognizing where we are in the cycle of support. All of us have, at the beginning of this, went back to our militaries and said, what have you got in the cupboard? What can we donate? What have you got in reserves? As we get towards the end of those capabilities, now is the time that we will have to start basically buying from third countries, or indeed placing orders in factories to increase ammo supply to Ukraine. So, for example, the Ukrainians are using 155 military artillery. We've gifted tens of thousands of shells, but in the next few months and years, they'll need many more. So this fund allows us to effectively together, and Denmark will be on it with us as one of the governors of the fund to make sure that we're all, purchasing it in accordance with Ukraine's need, and we'll be able to go and buy from wherever they are capacity. And I think that's the difference. One is, it won't be as bureaucratic, and it'll be very much sort of used that way. And I think we've got a number of other countries who've said that they are looking or going to commit to put some more money in there. We've had money from, Canada and Australia as well. So it's definitely international, and I think it's going to really help target where Ukraine needs it. Because all of us have stock issues. It's not I've gifted 5,500 NLAWs, anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. Today I've announced we've doubled our GMLRS, our M270s, which is the British sort of HIMARS system, plus the similar HIMARS missiles to Ukraine. So that's a doubling today of hardware in that very key strategic sort of capability, and we'll continue to do that. But where we don't have it, we'll go and find it.
Okay.
So the scene there live in Copenhagen from an international donor conference. You heard there from the defence ministers of Ukraine, Denmark and the UK's Defence Secretary Ben Wallace there. They announced at that meeting that donations to Ukraine from that conference have amounted to 1.5 billion euros. And Ben Wallace said that the UK's appetite is increasing towards helping Ukraine. He said that out of the conference have come more pledges of finance, of training and of military equipment. And he said while the fighting is still going on a daily basis in Ukraine, he also said that Russia was starting to fail. He said that Russia was unlikely to ever succeed in occupying Ukraine and was now only focusing on parts of the south and east 6 months on. So a little update there from that International Donors Conference in Copenhagen by the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace.